I got a Ricola just in case I get
Ricola.
Ricola.
Okay, I wish that would be on the episode.
Well, you didn't clap yet,
I
dude.
didn't clap
You
yet.
gotta clap. You gotta hit that clap button.
Gary,
Anthony Weaver.
Low Expectations, Season 2, Episode 7.
7.
It's good to
That's
see
a
you.
good number. You know what that means? 7.
Go for it.
It's like complete.
It's complete.
Like a complete.
It's
Which
a-
means we
it's
should
a-
probably wrap this thing up.
It's a biblical number.
It is. Yeah. Numbers are interesting in the Bible. I'm
They
starting
are.
to like.
You get all
Look
these
into
weird kicks.
Dude, I'm also into sourdough bread recently. Do you want a starter? Like a sourdough starter? You and the bride can make some sourdough bread or pancakes.
I am not making sourdough bread. I will check with Lauren to see if she wants
Okay.
a mix. Hey, what's up with our name?
It's getting there, dude.
Okay.
I think we're
Getting
good.
close.
Yeah.
Name change is coming. 2 cups,
I mean, dude,
one call.
when you literally want something professionally done, it takes some time.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if I just did
sure.
it would be janky.
Well, you came up with the idea.
No, AI came up with it.
AI came up with the idea,
Yeah.
and then you sought a professional, a
Yeah,
friend of
I
ours,
networked.
Yeah, you networked. That's a big word.
Yeah, networked. Yeah. Talk to my
It's like
people.
LinkedIn in real life.
I didn't check LinkedIn, but
Are you on LinkedIn?
I don't think so.
What do you mean you don't think so?
Well,
It's either
because I
yes
can't
or
remember.
no.
Like, dude, I can't remember things.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, I'm just saying. Like, I don't check it ever. I may have one, but I don't.
Did you put yourself on?
I don't think I did.
Okay, well then you
Like,
wouldn't be on
listener,
LinkedIn.
look me up. See if you can find me on LinkedIn. I don't think you can. I don't think I'm there.
Okay,
Like, I don't have a need for it.
okay.
Maybe I do, but like, I feel like I don't.
So now, like, I'm switching back to sourdough bread
Oh,
because
yeah.
one thing after listening to the last episode, I was like, I gotta let Gary talk more. I like dominated the conversation in the last episode because afterwards I'm editing it, I'm adding
you're
chapter notes and
you're
stuff,
hearing it,
and
yeah.
I'm realizing, dude, I just completely dominated the conversation.
But it's fine. Like, it doesn't bother me.
I know it, but I make your life too easy. I need you to talk more.
Oh,
You come
really?
on.
Yeah.
You make promises that I have to keep. You do hardly any research.
Yeah. That's true.
And I just like talk.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Although I've done a lot of research on the Lunsford thing because it really
irritates
me.
you. Good.
It really
Well, I'll let you
aggravates me,
take
but-
lead on that one.
I'm not the person to take lead. Like, listen, dude, I'm the sidekick. I'm happy to be the sidekick. I'm like a galvanizing person. Like, I
Galvanizing.
Yeah, I bring things together and then I'm tenacious. Like, I just took this like work genius thing.
Okay.
So like that's like who I am.
Galvanizing and tenacious.
Yeah. So like I make people want to like attack a project.
And then you just leave.
Right.
And let them attack it.
Yeah. I let them attack it, but I like make them like excited about it. And then I'm tenacious in the fact that like I won't let it go, I guess. I think that's like, I read it real briefly.
Okay.
But-
I wonder what.
But that makes sense, dude. That's like who I am. Like,
Right.
I'll
You
like,
bring people together and then you disappear.
I disappear, I vanish. Yeah. You
And
do
then
your thing.
You just check back in like, hey, how's that
thing going that I wanted you to do?
That I wanted you to do that I told other people you would do.
Yeah. That's like my thing.
I wonder what would come up with me. What words would describe me?
I think you're a visionary. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm
You
a
don't think?
visionary. I don't. I would. I always felt like I was a nuts and bolts guy. Like, not
like
a visionary.
The details.
Yeah.
Give you a task and then you'll take care of it. That's kind of how I am.
I'm not.
We're probably very similar, actually.
Probably.
Which probably isn't great
But
for
you're
this
just-
podcast. But
You're probably. You're more of a politician.
for
than
sure,
I am.
100%.
Hey,
that
I
was
don't-
like a nickname like I had.
Yeah,
like, all throughout
you
my
were called
police
a
career,
politician. It would make you super angry when you were
I
younger.
would get mad,
you would get
because I
mad.
don't like politicians, but like apparently I have like the.
You have a politician. You do because
Demeanor.
you have a way.
I try to bring
about you.
everybody together,
Yeah.
like because I want everybody to like each other. Like
And you can talk to anybody, and yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I shared this on the last episode. I finally found one person that likes me better on this episode than you.
dude, that's awesome.
It's a family member.
All right.
I'm not going to out your family member, but one of your family members actually.
Really?
Yeah, you were there. You were there for the conversation.
I don't remember.
where she told me that.
Is this my mom?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, my mom likes you more than me.
Yes,
that doesn't surprise me at all.
You were standing right there when we were having the conversation.
Yeah.
She's like, I agree with everything you say. I just love listening to you. I'm like, you're literally the first person that's ever told me that you like me on the podcast more than you like Gary.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, I love Gary. He's like, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm just a jerk.
Nah, dude, that's funny that my mom likes you.
Yeah,
I think she likes everybody that knows me better than me.
She's had to put up with your crap.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Dude, or you're very like her.
That's probably true too.
Yeah.
I am glad that you're surviving the tariffs. Like you're still alive. Like they haven't like literally destroyed your life. Like your world is not ended because of these tariffs.
I guess the market is crashing.
Dude, everybody's stressed. Like what? I haven't noticed any difference in my life.
Last time I checked, when you're doing something like this, where the idea is to make it more economical for companies to build in the U.S., to build business in the U.S., that's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right. It's not like a bombing, right? Where you see immediate results, right? Oh, we killed this terrorist.
But we're immediate result culture.
That's what we are.
We want results right away.
Dude, people are losing their minds.
I love recently
if I was a business owner, right? Like if I had any equity, if I had any money at all, dude, I would start a business. Like I would make t-shirts. I would do something in the US, like, and you would crush it.
Right.
You're going to absolutely crush it. Like I think, dude, I don't know anything about it. Like I'm talking like as if I know anything
Gary,
at
the
all.
economist.
Yeah, exactly. But dude, it's unreal. Like
economist.
Yeah.
I jacked that word up.
It's unreal. It's unreal to me. Like people are losing their minds over something that probably doesn't affect them in the short term, unless you are like hoping to like empty all of your investments you know, yesterday or today or tomorrow or I guess Monday, whatever. Like if you're trying to, I guess, get rid of all of your investments now, like that's a bad time.
Right.
But like the market has always come back. Like I'm not an economic guy, right?
Right.
But like the market has always come back. It's always come back.
It's going to be okay.
And every financial planner will tell you, keep investing. Just keep investing. The market always comes back.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too, because there's already car makers,
Ford,
automobile makers out there that are building factories or expanding factories that they have in the United States.
At least that's what we're being told. I mean, I don't know anything about anything, but like Ford literally was like, hey, we're going to give you, I had just heard this the other day. Ford's going to literally give you the employee rate. Like you can go buy a Ford right now as if you were an employee.
I mean,
because they want
Ford, so they have to.
They have to. Nobody wants their car. Nobody wants their.
I'm not a Ford guy. I'm like. I guess that kind of makes me a little redneck. I'm like the Chevy Ford guy. You know, I'm a Chevy GMC guy. But
right,
I don't know.
That's all right.
It's like the big battle.
Is Chevy a U.S. maker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, all these companies have overseas factories,
and the reason they've done that is because they get better deals in other countries. So now we're trying to switch that up. It's not going to happen overnight. Like
no, it's.
But I'm glad to see you're surviving. That's literally what I wanted to say was I'm glad you're surviving. Your house hasn't burned down. Like you know your cars haven't been destroyed.
Well, I don't have a Tesla, so no one's vandalizing them.
My goodness, yeah. Heaven forbid if you're a Tesla owner right now. My goodness, we talked about that last time. Who cares? Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I also thought on X recently, I saw all these clips of Democrats.
Yeah.
Like Schumer, Pelosi, all these Democrats who are like losing their minds over tariffs years ago.
Yeah, Bernie
like
Sanders,
in the 80s,
same thing. Yeah.
90s. Talking about how we need tariffs.
Yeah, and we need American companies and this and that.
Like we need tariffs
but
to
now,
create
like,
American companies.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It
sounds like President Trump went gonzo with tariffs.
Yeah.
Like gonzo. Absolutely like complete it's changing the globe, which I think is cool. Because like we've turned into this like globalist society where there's no longer nations.
Right.
And I don't think that's how we were designed. I don't think that's how we were created. We were created to be nations.
Right.
And we should be like loving our neighbor, but like we're still out for our nation. We ought to be.
That's
as should Japan, as should China, as should Russia. They should be for their people.
Right. And if you create a good country, if you create a prosperous, safe country, more people are going to want to come and enjoy that and come the right way. or visit and spend money.
Yeah.
Like I want to go. I told Lauren, I was like, I'll go to El Salvador. She wants to travel. I'm like, I have zero desire.
You want to go to El Salvador?
I have
after
zero
all places?
desire to go to most countries. Yeah. But now, but El Salvador, now with their crime rate plummeting, they're safer than the U.S.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out where to put this.
Take that piece off. You don't need it in here.
No, it's a safe place.
Yeah. So
dangerous world out there, dude. Dangerous world.
Not El Salvador. Safer than the U.S. right now.
Yeah.
So anyways, bunch of stuff we want to talk about. We want to do an update on the Officer Marquette case. We want to do an update on the Officer Lunsford case. We have, I don't even know if we're going to get to all this, but we have a female Miami cop fails to intervene. And that brought up the whole 30 by 30 stuff again. Yeah. And then we have a suspect with a chainsaw.
Dude, that one's wild.
Dude,
I can't wait to talk about that
man.
one. Yeah, I know.
Hesitation. Part of me wonders, well, we'll get into that one right now. Part of me wonders.
So we just said it's safe in here. Sometimes it's not safe in a old person's home.
Right. I don't think that's politically correct. Retirement home. Come on. We're going to get.
Okay. They're older people in a retirement. Like, I don't know what to tell you. They're old people. Like,
I understand.
At some point, you and I might be in one of those places.
I'm just trying to be you.
Hey,
I'm trying
President
to be the
Trump,
politician in this.
Look, it's a new world, buddy.
It's a retirement home.
I can call it old people's home.
Okay.
I'm going to call it that.
Okay.
An old people's home.
It is. It's a home for elderly people.
Yeah.
So, which we are.
Old is a synonym for elderly.
We are both well on our way.
We're getting there.
On our way. Anyways, so I saw this video come out. It actually happened back in December
of 24.
Yeah, December of 24 in St. Charles, Illinois, is where it happened. So
is that outside of Chicago, or is that like a long way from Chicago? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I did not pull up the geography on this, but they get a call for a suspect with a chainsaw in and around the retirement home. Once the first officer gets there, he's told that the guy is now inside the retirement home, and the officer goes in. I'll show some of the video. I've been throwing video into our YouTube. You guys got to follow us on YouTube. You got to subscribe to us on YouTube because I'm putting in some of these videos as we talk
so you don't have to
about
click an extra link. Like, it's literally there. So just watch the podcast.
And I throw in clips from these videos. So anyways, the officer goes into the retirement home, confronts the suspect with the chainsaw.
Yeah.
The suspect is holding the chainsaw. The suspect is trying to start the chainsaw.
Hey, drop the taser. Drop the taser. Or drop it. Drop it. Drop it. On the ground. On the ground. Get back. Hey, drop. Hey. Hey. Step it up. Hey, drop the chainsaw. One at taser point.
Oh my God.
Hey, drop it. I got one at taser point. Step it up. We'll be in the front lobby. Drop it.
Subject in the front lobby. You want me to leave? Yes.
Step it up.
I'm leaving here, I'm not leaving. Where is she?
Step it up.
And this officer, and again, when I don't like this is not Monday morning quarterbacking an officer. This is looking at, what happened in the incident and saying, why did we do poorly? What could have we done better?
Yeah, it's an after action review. Which you should do in every stressful situation.
Sure. Every time, I've said this before, every time I'm involved in a use of force incident, in the course of my duties, almost every time I'm involved in any type of call, I always think about, was there anything on that call I could have done better, could have done different, could have improved on?
That's literally true of any job. Like, if you're a good employee, like, you're going to look at, like, if you're a person that does retail, right? You're trying to sell a pair of jeans. you're going to think about, you should, maybe they don't, but like you should think about, how could I have sold this better? Or what should have I said differently? Or how could have I sold this car better? How could have I sold this insurance policy better?
Right.
What did I do that like turned them off? What did I say that kind of like caused questions or whatever?
Right.
That's true of any job.
Sure.
So like a police officer, it's even important because sometimes you're in life or death situations, or you take someone's freedom.
Yeah. And again, going back to this de-escalation conversation, I think that focus on de-escalation is getting some officers bound up in situations where de-escalation is needed and should be looked at when you have time and distance.
Correct.
Time and distance.
I agree.
And so if you're going into a retirement home where you have a guy with a chainsaw who's surrounded by people who can't move fast and or are in wheelchairs,
sitting at a table,
need help getting out of chairs, and regardless of if the people are able to move freely, quickly, or not in a building, if you're going into a building and you have a suspect who has a chainsaw in that building and is trying to actively start that chainsaw, that is not the time for de-escalation.
Right.
100%.
Well, no, it's time to de-escalate by putting that person down.
Yeah,
by
using
stopping
force.
the threat.
Right. And I think people get so bound up in this de-escalation thing where they haven't either visually worked through incidents similar to this. They haven't watched video. They haven't thought about how would I react to someone.
This one's wild because I'll give the officer credit. This is different than someone with a gun. It's
right.
a chainsaw. Like I've never dealt with someone with a chainsaw ever in 23 and a half years. I've never dealt with that. I never would have thought, what if I deal with someone with a chainsaw? I've thought about what do I do with someone with a gun? What do I do with someone with a knife? What would I do with someone with a bat, a chair? A chainsaw has never come to my mind, actually.
But even if I can't say that I have either, but even if you're working through mentally preparing for incidents like this, for scenarios like this, and you're thinking outside of just having a gun or just having a knife,
sure.
Like what if they're holding, a mechanic's wrench, like something else in their hand, like working through that and trying to determine what level of force you're at. Understanding your policy, understanding the law in Pennsylvania, our crimes code, section 508, understanding what that says, like how that breaks down what we legally can and can't do. And then in relation to our policy, what level of resistance is being presented to me and what level of force can I use? And watching this officer try to work through this, I'm like, I don't think something's going on here. Either the officer is so focused on de-escalating, either he is not confident in his abilities in regards to what level of force he should be using,
or if he's new, or if he just got disciplined. Like there could be
a whole bunch of things going on. But he confronts the suspect with the chainsaw. Again, the suspect's holding the chainsaw. He's trying to start the chainsaw. The officer, I can tell, is at a very, very elevated level of stress.
He sounds drunk.
The officer does?
Yeah, like he's not drunk, but like because he's so stressed, he can't even put words together.
Yeah, he can't. He's
like, drop the taser.
Yeah, he tells the suspect to drop the taser because he's pointing his taser at him.
Right.
So, and that in and of itself, if you're listening to this and you're in law enforcement, if you are approaching someone who has a chainsaw, whether that chainsaw is on or not,
right,
a taser is lower on the use of force continuum than the level of force you should be using on a guy like that. You should have your handgun out. A chainsaw is a deadly weapon.
With or without it being on.
Correct.
Yeah.
With or without it being on it. It's
a blunt object. It's
bladed,
sharp.
Yeah. So you have to understand that what you're observing is a deadly force situation. Yeah. That pulling your taser out, you're trying to de-escalate a deadly force situation, and you don't have the time to do it. It's not the time.
You don't have
or
the time
place.
or the distance because it looks like it's in that like entryway of like a dining room or something like that. Yeah. And there's literally somebody sitting 5 feet away. 5 feet away from this guy with a chainsaw who's actively trying to start it. The suspect appears to be like he's not in his right mind, right? he's dressed he's wearing a coat but no shirt on underneath it, and he's like mumbling to himself.
He's talking about his wife or something.
Yeah.
So
and he doesn't look like he even belongs in that home. Like he looks like a younger.
Yeah,
he's not an old person.
He's not older.
A geriatric? Are you allowed to say that?
I think elderly would be the right term.
Well, geriatric though is the right word. It's like a
Yes.
synonym, right, for old and elderly and
Yes, I believe you're right.
wise.
Right. Yeah. So
close to death.
Does this officer? I don't even remember. Does he end up tasing him or trying to tase him?
He
Once
does
he
tase
gets
him.
it.
Yeah,
he does
he
tase
tases
him.
him.
But the suspect works through the tasing, or
He,
it's
like,
not
rolls.
a good connection.
Yeah, it looks like he rolls.
Okay.
And gets up and he's like, he's saying, I don't know what he's saying. He's like, whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
He's like whooping or whatever.
At one
Other
point-
officers show up like
Yeah.
almost right after he tases him.
Well, and this officer is like on the radio constantly. That's the other thing that drove me nuts. Like, if you have a situation like this, if you need to say, hey, other units, step it up.
That's
okay,
it.
that's it.
Yeah.
Stay off the radio. Do your job. They're going to get there.
He did say, like, I liked that he said, like, we're in the main lobby, which
Right.
he wasn't actually in, but like, I guess it was close to the lobby.
But he was on the radio
behind-
multiple
yeah.
times. Like,
No
step
need.
it up. I need people. I need people. I need
Like,
people.
listen,
I'm like,
sometimes you just have to do your job, like, and wait for others to show up.
Right.
Like, I did that as an undercover, right? Like, I don't expect the people doing surveillance or listening to the wire to be my immediate backup. Like,
Right.
if something bad happened, that was my job to protect myself and
Right.
others. Like, I'm not relying on others. Like, that's why I was there, was to do that, do whatever job I was supposed to do.
right.
So, like, his job was to de-escalate him by putting him down.
Yeah. Eliminate the threat.
Eliminate the threat.
And that didn't happen. At one point, he had the chainsaw started for a little bit. He starts running around all kinds of people. And finally, another officer makes the decision to, use deadly force to stop the threat in very unbelievably extreme close
I can't believe
proximity
nobody else got hit, right?
to a person in
There's
a
literally
home.
someone in like an electric chair
Like, right beside him.
Right beside him. And she like backs up at the end. It's
Right.
hilarious.
And if you watch the body cam of the other officer involved, that officer, he actually runs at the officer. The officer fires like a couple
like he
rounds.
runs into him with this chainsaw.
And he runs into him with
Yeah.
the chainsaw because you see him checking himself later to make sure he's
Right.
not cut or anything. So
Hey, right here. He's right here. He's right here.
Get him out. Come here. He's on the other side.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All you gotta do. Oh, your hands up.
Shots fired.
Attention all Irish units. Everyone St. Charles, block of Rochester Avenue.
I just hate watching videos like that. I
do.
can't stand watching them because I'm like, has this? And when I watch them, I'm like, has it always been like this? Have we always been so slow to act? And have we always been quick to hesitate in these situations? Or does it just seem like that because we have so much more video available?
Yeah.
It's probably a little bit of both. I feel like, as someone who's still on the street, pushing a car, as someone who is, involved in training, use of force training to a certain extent, I feel like this is something that is, we're just trying to work so hard to get guys out of it because de-escalation. And you put scenarios in front of people and they want to de-escalate. I'm like, I get it. There's time and place for it.
Yeah. I think de-escalation is a great thing, but it has to be used in the right circumstances, which is exactly what you're saying.
And I think it also has to be defined differently. We in law enforcement, we tend to define de-escalation as just talking someone down.
Those who train people in de-escalation say you have to talk people out of everything.
Right.
That's not okay. Like, you're not going to talk. You weren't talking that guy out of dropping that.
No.
He was literally actively starting it, and he got it started. Whoom, whoom, whoom. Like, he was ready to like chop somebody up.
And maybe if the officer had immediately deployed lethal force, like as in not deploy, but point his firearm at him and give him commands, maybe that would have de-escalated him.
Maybe.
I don't think so. Watching the video, no. I think this guy was set on what he was going to do.
Right.
But it hurts my heart. I watch these guys. I'm like, bro, you have to act.
I get it. But like, we live in a world now where if you do act, like some of the officers we've been supporting who have been charged criminally.
Right.
Like we've been taught, like, I don't know if they teach this anymore, but it's better to be judged by 12 than walked out by 6.
Right.
Like lose your life, right? Or let some innocent bystander die because you didn't react.
But guys don't act like that anymore.
That's right. And I don't know if that's being taught anymore. But like, it is better to be judged by 12, but like now everybody's judged. It seems like everybody's being judged by 12.
Right.
And that's a hard way to have a career or to try to do your job or to do what's been trusted to you.
Right.
It's just hard.
And again, to be fair to this officer, we don't know anything about him. We don't know, is anything going on in his personal life? Was he wrongly disciplined for something that he did correctly, and now he's second guessing himself in this situation?
Yeah, was he castrated by a supervisor?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't know any of that stuff. I think the reason we're even talking about this is we have to not hesitate. Like, hesitation can get you or someone else killed.
Right.
And like a police officer, it's a super hard job. And like, you have to make split-second decisions that actually matter. Right? If you're selling a pair of jeans, it doesn't matter, right? Whether or not you make that sale. It really doesn't.
Right.
Your life doesn't depend on it. Your whole family's life doesn't depend on it. An officer, it does. And that's why we do have to follow the law and give the officer give the officer the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
When he takes action.
I mean, we've talked about that reasonable standard. We've talked about, showing deference to someone who has been appointed and put in a position, not just by, people, but by God.
Yeah, by the Creator himself. Yeah, exactly.
And showing deference to people. And instead, we tend to show deference to suspects.
Yeah.
And that is just like drilled into, I'm afraid it's just being drilled into guys in training, and it's affecting officers' ability to act.
Yeah,
I think in a negative way.
That's why police departments have to have extremely strong leaders,
right?
Who literally understand the law, who understand the job of a police officer, and are not hearing all of the noise from politicians and people who hate the police and want them to do nothing.
Right.
Right. It's funny because they want you to do nothing until you're needed for them.
Right.
Right.
But and to that point, let's carry this out. Let's say the officer just kept with the taser. No officer showed up with a gun. They just keep trying to de-escalate this guy. He gets the chainsaw started. Let's say he got that chainsaw started, and the person who's sitting in the chair feet from him, he just lops off a limb or cuts their head off or whatever. Now what?
Right.
As the officer, how are you going to deal with that? As the public, how is the public going to deal with that? Well, they're going to be screaming for you to be fired for your inability to act.
Right.
Your duty to intervene. You didn't intervene. That sort of thing. And again, under stress in the moment, you have to be so confident in what you legally can and can't do and how it's justified. Like, it almost has to be second nature. You have to be so well versed in it, and
which is why we talk about running scenarios.
Yeah,
constantly running scenarios in your head. What am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if that happens?
Because that's half the battle.
That's probably more than half the battle.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of departments are going to scenario-based training. Scenario-based training, it's time-consuming. It's hard. You need a lot of people to do it because you need role players. You need officers. You need to keep people on the street. So it's a challenging thing to do, but the decision making that comes out of that, because you can introduce stress in a training aspect where mistakes can be made, and it's not your career, it's not your life, it's not someone else's life, But in a situation like this, you just have to so clearly understand what you can do. And the moment he walked in there and saw the guy holding the chainsaw, boom, weapon out, pointed, drop the chainsaw, bam, 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 put him down.
That's right.
No hesitation, trying to de-escalate. You don't have the time or distance to do that. There's too many lives at stake.
Too many lives at stake. So we're saying that. But in the back of every police officer's mind right now is, I'm going to be charged.
Right. That's true.
And that's the public's fault, the loud part of the public. That's their fault and the politician's fault and prosecutors' fault.
And I also think it's the leaders of police departments' fault.
But even then, they can clear them and they can still be charged. And that's
true. That happened.
That's brutal. And that's the hard part of policing. And that's why, being a police officer is one of the greatest careers ever.
Yeah.
Because you bear all of that. You bear all the weight.
Right.
You fail to act, you bear that weight. You act, you bear the weight.
Right.
So you're bearing it no matter what you do, no matter if you de-escalate. I'm using big giant quotes if you're just listening. If you de-escalate and just talk, or you de-escalate and you stop the threat.
Right. Yeah, it's a wild video. I'll have portions of it thrown up on YouTube. You can watch. And and then you just also wonder if the officer's thinking about, because it looks like the suspect is maybe Latino. In the video, it's hard to tell exactly what race he is. And the officer, you can see his hand. It looks like he's white guy. How much does that come into play with it? And unfortunately, that's playing in guys' minds a lot too right now.
And it shouldn't at all.
It shouldn't at all. It shouldn't at all.
Yeah.
So, but I think I do think strong leadership helps with those things. Helps to, if you have an officer working for a department that has strong leadership that he knows is going to back him up and have his back if he uses force, that's also extremely helpful.
Yep.
And not the case with what recently happened in Rochester. Did you see this?
Yes.
So, March 24th, Homeland Security and Border Patrol doing action, enforcement action in Rochester. Rochester, New York. Rochester is a sanctuary city. So Homeland Security, Border Patrol, they stop a van. There's 8 people in this van. They put out a request for backup from Rochester PD, an urgent request for backup. So Chief, this makes me so sick. So, I'm not going to break down all the video, but ultimately officers get there. Allegedly, according to Chief David Smith, a supervisor gets there initially, a sergeant, and calls off the emergency response. It's unclear if he just said, hey, slow your response, called off the emergency part of the response, or if he told guys not to show up.
Right.
If he told officers not to come to the scene, okay, you can address that with ignoring your supervisor. If he just said, hey, slow your response, stop the emergency response, and guys,
an emergency response means lights and sirens. You're stopping at red lights, but you're still going through them.
Right.
You're speeding.
Yeah.
Which is it is dangerous.
Right.
It's dangerous for the public.
So
and that happens all of the time. A supervisor will be like, hey, keep coming, just slow down.
Yeah.
Stop turn off your lights and sirens.
Right.
And that's totally normal. I think that's a wise decision.
It's a good
thing
to do.
Yeah.
It's to protect the public. Hey, we initially need an emergency response. Everyone can slow down.
Yeah.
Bring your heart rate down. Turn off your emergency equipment. Get here, but you don't need to do an emergency response. So I don't know exactly what that looked like, but a bunch of other officers get there to help. There's a loudmouth woman who's interjecting herself into the situation. It looks like there's a Homeland Security guy or Border Patrol guy trying to get the driver out of the van. There's a woman that's coming up. Rochester PD is pushing her back, talking to her, trying to get her away from the scene. She's literally up in their space.
Right.
And you can't put your hands on me and all this and that. Ultimately, one or two of the Rochester PD guys help in removing people from the vehicle and actually handcuff and search some of the people. This is
normal
police work.
It's literally what happens in it.
Police work.
Yeah.
But because they're a sanctuary city,
and their policy is we will not enforce federal law related to immigration stuff,
which is crazy. I mean, when you think about that, you literally have a mayor and a chief saying, we will not uphold the Constitution. I mean, this is a law. This is a law.
I get it.
It's immigration law.
So
it's wild to me.
All right. So Anthony, if the federal law says abortion is legal and you can abort, but a city says and their departments say, no, not going to happen.
Yeah. I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
So like, I get it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I'm just saying, like, you can like the state should have the ability, and cities should have the ability to do what they want. That doesn't make it right or wrong. It just like, I think that's kind of where, so they go and assist these ICE agents doing their job. And it sounds like and in reality, like, I don't know that ICE agents are, I can tell you, I don't believe they're as good as police officers in dealing with public, in dealing with a traffic stop, in dealing with people who are uncooperative, because police do that every single day.
Right. ICE agents,
it's literally like you're going out and you're finding somebody who's illegal and you grab them up. Like,
yeah, the tactics brought by good urban police officers,
bringing them out of the car, handcuffing them, patting them down, making sure they don't have weapons.
Yeah.
Like, that's good police work. At ICE, it seems like they didn't have the manpower to do that, or they didn't have the ability or knowledge how to talk somebody out of unlocking a door, opening a door. And it sounds like the department was like, listen, we could go there, we can help them out, and we can get the doors unlocked and then let them deal with it.
Right.
And like, I'm not mad at that. Like, okay, let them deal with it.
But these are just like road guys. They're just there to help another agency. They're not thinking about, hey, if I remove this illegal alien from the car and handcuff them, I'm then violating the sanctuary city policy that we have, and can get chucked under the bus.
Which is why they're
trying
retraining.
to do their job.
I get it.
They're just trying to do their job. But Mayor Malik Evans, in the press conference they had this press conference, and Mayor Malik Evans says that the police and the city does not enforce or help enforce immigration laws.
Right.
That's the policy of the city. So it was okay that the officers responded. They should have just sat there or stood there and provided backup, but weren't supposed to help in any way, put handcuffs on anyone. The chief said that the only time an officer is allowed to take action is in safety or exigent circumstances. So because this was not viewed as safety or exigent circumstances, which I completely disagree with. You have a van full of 8 people. You have people inside the van. You have people outside the van who are not cooperating with police.
Right.
This is a safety and exigent circumstance. I don't understand how then as a chief you can stand in front of everyone and literally chuck all your officers under the bus, say they need to be retrained. They've been pulled off the street, and until they're retrained, we won't put them back on the street, and do this big giant press conference where everyone at the press conference is like, this is the beginning stages of the investigation. We still don't have all the answers to our questions. But hey, even though we don't have all the answers to our questions, let's just go out here and just destroy these 12 cops who just were doing their job. They just showed up to help other officers out. And they happen to be federal officers. That could have been you, me, any guy that's on the road right now. I don't care if I work for a sanctuary city. If another officer, whether they're a federal agent, ICE agent, calls for help, I'm going to go and help them. And I'm not going to stand there while they try to coax 8 people out of a van that I can't see. I can't see their hands. I got some woman coming up trying to interrupt the investigation. You don't want me to do anything. You just want me to stand there and be like, well, you guys got to figure it out. If it goes really south here and someone, brings out a weapon, then, maybe I'm trying to decide what my sanctuary city laws say.
Policy is, yeah.
So dumb. And then to be chucked under the bus by the chief. That's what, just pisses me off. And, that's why who wants to be a cop? Like how I want to know how, I wish I would have looked up how low, how under par are they staffing wise in Rochester PD. Yeah. I bet you they're struggling to find
everybody else in an urban environment.
I bet you they're struggling to find people to come in. And then, someone types in Rochester PD, and the first thing that comes up is the chief housing 12 guys that went to help another agency.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to work for that guy.
Yeah, it's literally caving to the mayor.
Right.
Which is, I mean, that's the job of a police officer or of a chief, I guess.
It's not the job of a police.
I don't think so either. But
to cave to the mayor,
I agree.
It's the job of the chief to run the department, and if that means that the mayor removes you, so be it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't
know what else you wanted these police officers to do. I'm trying to think of myself as a chief, like just show up and stand there, because that's not like you're not doing anything. Like why even be there?
Right. You're actually making the situation more unsafe, more dangerous if you don't do something.
Right.
If you just get there and be like, all right, Mr. Border Patrol agent, I understand you have a van full of 8 uncooperative people that you are looking to take into custody for being in this country illegally. And I understand that you have no idea what's in this van, but you got to figure it out. And we're not helping you.
Yes.
We're doing nothing to help you make this scene safe.
Right.
To me, that is a safety and exigent circumstance. Those officers should be engaged and should not be thrown under the bus. I don't care if it's a sanctuary city. That scene is not safe. There are exigent circumstances there.
I agree.
And then they did this press conference. My favorite part of the press conference is they got the president of City Council, Miguel Melendez, to stand up and speak. So I
love this part.
He says, the first thing I'd like to say, is there is an uptick in the community of driving while Latino. Then he goes, I admit I don't have all the details on this particular incident, but so you start your statement by making a broad generalization that there's an uptick in driving while Latino, and then you say, but I don't know about this incident. I don't know if that's the case in this incident.
Yeah. Or I don't give any details as to why I believe or why I just said that if you're Latino and driving, you're going to get stopped by the police.
Right. And then he goes on to say, there's a lot more profiling and disdain against Latinos.
Which he doesn't back it up at all.
No, he just vomits it out there. And
word vomits
it out there, and then says, well, but we don't know if that was the case here. Right. We don't have the details. So the mayor chucks the police officers under the bus. The chief chucks the police officers under the bus. The city council president chucks the police officers under the bus. These officers are off the street, retraining them before they go back out on the street. And then after they do the press conference, the chief sends this letter to his whole department. Let me see if I can find it here. Hold on. Of course, my computer locked up. After this press conference, the chief sends a letter to the Rochester Police Department, the whole department, and he says in the letter the chief didn't apologize to or for his officers, but writes that they were put in an untenable position when they were called for help. So,
what does that even mean?
Like an unwinnable position. So basically, now he just had a press conference. He chucks them all under the bus, and now he's like, "Well, you were just put in an unwinnable situation,
but we're still going to destroy you.
Yeah, we're
going to crush you."
So he goes, "The RPD will always respond to a call from another law enforcement agency or anyone in our community that is in danger or in a situation of immediate threat to their life or safety. As we all know, the job of law enforcement is often complex and demanding. We all know that there are many incidents, such as evictions, for example, where our primary role is to ensure the safety of everyone involved." First of all, this should have been your statement to the press. "Recently, while acting in good faith, our members were called upon to render mutual aid in what was reported to be an emergency situation from other law enforcement agencies. In this case, those agencies were Border Patrol and Homeland Security. In response to this emergency, our officers arrived on scene to discover that their help had been requested to de-escalate a situation involving a traffic stop initiated by members of Border Patrol." So you give a press conference, you chuck everyone under the bus, and then you admit that they were called to help a tense situation, and it was an unwinnable situation that you were called to help, and trying to this is from NBC News 10 out of that area, I guess. I'm just like, why wasn't this part of your statement instead of, the
sad part is it's a winnable situation and the police won. No one got hurt.
Right.
ICE was able to do whatever they were going to do. And they moved on.
RPD didn't take anyone into custody. They handcuffed some people that were turned over to Border Patrol.
Yeah.
So they didn't take part in any charges or other than detaining people out of the car, patting them down, checking them for weapons, and turning them over. I just don't. I don't understand why you would chuck them under the bus in this situation and then try to backtrack and write this letter. Like,
because you're trying to save face.
I know all those guys and all those girls, guys, officers that read that email were like, whatever, chief, delete.
Yeah, you could care less about me.
You could care less. You just stood in front of the entire national press and buried our guys for going and doing their job.
Right.
And now you're going to try to write me an email and talk about how it was an unwinnable situation and you responded correctly. And, it's just really tough out there. And,
right.
You got a tough job to do. And, we just got to do a better job. Forget you, man. You just chucked your guys under the bus to the press.
It's brutal.
So, I don't know. I don't have any time for it, but I don't know. It comes down to leadership. And again, if you're trying to hire people and that's, they type in Rochester PD, that's going to be one of the first videos that comes up. And
yeah,
that's going to be what they see. And they're like, well, maybe I don't want to work for that department. That chief doesn't seem to have his guys back.
And look, there's lots of departments that are hiring right now. So you can pick and choose. I think you can be pretty picky right now to be a police officer.
You can.
And I think you ought to be.
Yeah. It's not like it was when you and I got hired.
Right. Yeah.
Like you just
took wherever you could hoping for the best.
You were hoping to score high and
hoping to get a
high
job
on the list and get a job. Now you can almost decide. You just have so many options because so many people are, so many agencies are hurting. They just want people so bad.
Right.
So the other thing I want to do was update on the Officer Marquette case and Officer Lunsford case. Let's do the Mac Marquette case first. So recently,
this is the one with the tow truck trying to repossess a car.
Right.
The owner of the car comes out with a gun, points it at the tow truck driver, then points it at the officer. Officer shoots and kills.
Correct.
The armed gunman.
Yeah, this is in Decatur, Alabama. So Officer Marquette recently had a defense immunity hearing based on Alabama's stand your ground law. So they had a self-defense immunity hearing. The judge denied them that. I think the defense team is working on a appeal to that, but
to go to the next level,
right? To appeal that denial of self-defense immunity. But in the meantime, the trial has now been set for June 9th. And I think the judge pushed it out to June 9th. I think it was supposed to be here in April, but the judge pushed out to June 9th to give them time to appeal his ruling if he wants to. So what's interesting, this is probably the most information that's come out, under oath in this case. Well, it is the most information that's come out under oath in this case. And we talked a lot about this case, but a couple facts came out during the case that were interesting. That the press actually reported that, first of all, the truck that was being repossessed was being wrongfully repossessed. The suspect wasn't behind on payments. Everything was fine with the truck, and that the suspect only had a flashlight. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That was put out by the press. That he didn't even have a weapon. All this and that. In this hearing, and you and I talked about it and debunked both those myths because they're myths. They're complete falsehoods.
It's fabrications.
It's things that the press, this is why, we cannot trust the press. They literally printed this stuff and put it out there to the public and put these rumors forth that are not true. And so that came out in this hearing that yes, in fact, his truck was being legally repossessed. There was an order, a civil order to repossess the truck. So it wasn't a mistake of repossessing the wrong truck or a shady repo company doing the wrong thing. The other thing was that, yes, he did 100% have a gun, 100% pointed at the tow truck driver, not once, but twice, and then an Officer Marquette. So those two things came out in this hearing. Listen, I'm not a lawyer. There was a lot of moving pieces in this immunity hearing, and jump. I don't know how much you looked into this, but jump in any time. So there were a lot of things discussed in the hearing that the judge broke down into basically this one idea that the door of this case, the door that this case swings on, hinges on whether or not Officer Marquette and the other officers there were acting in the capacity as police officers.
Right.
And so it's, for immunity then to be considered, you have to look at, was he acting in the capacity as a police officer? And then he broke down like 5 things in his ruling, which I'll get into here. But in order to kind of try to clarify this and look at it a little closer, there was an article out of National Police Association, Police One, out of Police One, that I just highlighted that might help to try to flesh this out a little bit. But the Morgan County Circuit Judge, Charles Elliott, was the one who made the ruling on this. From the article, Alabama's Stand Your Ground law grants immunity from prosecution to any individual who uses deadly force as long as they are in a place they have a right to be and reasonably believe they are in danger. Judge Elliott wrote that the jury will have to consider whether Marquette was, quote, acting in his capacity as a police officer, end quote, when he shot the suspect. It is on this hinge that the door of the case swings, just like I said. Tow truck driver Caleb Combs was authorized by the suspect's creditor to repossess the truck because the suspect was months behind on his payments, according to lien documents entered into evidence. But the ruling said that Marquette wasn't authorized to assist Combs based on an Alabama law that requires a court order for law enforcement to be involved in a repossession, which the officers didn't have. So that's just part of it. Judge Elliott said the jury will have to decide whether Marquette was at the suspect's house to keep the peace. Based on that determination, the ruling read the jury will have to decide both whether that means Marquette was acting within the scope of his responsibilities as a police officer and whether a reasonable officer would have killed the suspect in the same situation. So that brings a little more clarity to the case.
Which is very interesting because, as we remember, the tow truck came there to repossess the car without the police. The person who was shot, the owner of the truck, comes out, points a gun at the tow truck driver. He leaves, calls the police, asks for help.
Right.
That seems to me keep the peace.
Yeah.
It's not like the police were acting to the court order doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Like the tow truck driver didn't seek the court order to get the police involved. Right. Because it was a safety issue.
Right.
So then they called 911 or they called the police and say, hey, can you come make sure that I don't get shot?
Right.
As I repossess this car.
And there's discussion, it looked like in reading over the decision of the court, there was discussion on whether or not the tow truck driver had said, if I can get the truck right now, I won't press charges on the suspect in this case. So that was brought up in the hearing. But yeah, the five points the judge breaks down at the end of his ruling. He says one of them is the repossession, and if the police had a legal right to be there while the repo was happening. So you have that issue. Issue number 2 was, were they investigating a crime, and did they have legal reason to be on the suspect's property to investigate that crime? And then the defense raised Alabama Code 13A-3-22, which states, quote, conduct which would otherwise constitute an offense if justifiable and not criminal when it is required or authorized by law or by a judicial decree or is performed by a public servant in the reasonable exercise of his official powers, duties, and functions. So that was brought up in the case. Like, were they acting to carry out something as police officers, legally? And then the whole idea of keeping the peace and the argument that Officer Marquette and other officers were there to keep the peace. What does that mean? And then the reasonable officer standard.
This case is brutal, dude.
It is brutal. The number 5 to me, number 5 in the judge's ruling here is probably the most important one. He says, in examining the defendant's actions, talking about another case and other cases, the question that must be addressed are, was the defendant, Officer Marquette, acting within the scope of his employment, and were the defendant's actions consistent with what a reasonable officer would have done in this situation. Agent King, I think that's an investigating agent, testified that if the defendant was going to suspect's residence to assist Combs in the repossession, then he was acting outside the scope of his employment as a law enforcement officer. However, if the officers were going to keep the peace, then these two questions are questions of fact that can only be answered by a jury. So basically...
Isn't that the same thing? Like if you're keeping the peace so that way he can do his job to repossess the car.
Yeah.
It's just...
I mean, here's the bottom line. I mean, that's a lot of legal mumble jumble, and we're not lawyers. But what I will say is that the officers received a call for service.
Yeah.
A supervisor,
in uniform, on duty.
A supervisor aware of that, aware of what they were planning on doing, gave the green light. They acted in good faith to try to protect this tow truck driver
from
in this
repossession.
And there's also testimony at the immunity hearing that they were there to investigate the earlier crime. Now, we talked about this before. You can talk about whether or not the tactics to do that were the best tactics that they could have used, if there was something different they could have done. The bottom line is, I don't understand how you could say they didn't have a legal reason to be where they were,
right?
To be on that property, and therefore they didn't act in self-defense. I mean, There are police officers who were call of service. They came up with a plan. They activated the plan. They did the plan. And what's lost in all of this,
here we go,
is a suspect made a decision to come out and point a gun at a tow truck driver, who then called the police, and then made a second decision to come out, point a gun at a tow truck driver again, and then point the gun at the police.
Yep.
And I do not understand why we're even having this conversation about was he there legally? Wasn't he there legally? What was the purpose of being there? They didn't have a court order to help with the repossession, like all this stuff to muddy the waters. And the defense is trying to clear the waters and being like, they were there to keep the peace, investigate a crime. They had been there. A crime was reported to them. They were on the property legally, and they acted in a reasonable way.
Yep.
And
which he did.
Yeah.
And also Marquette did his job.
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be super interesting. Again, the trial date was pushed back to June 9th. I expect probably the defense is going to be
appealing
this immunity hearing decision. So keep you up to date on that. Update on Officer Brad Lunsford case. He was supposed to have a hearing on April 4th regarding the judge's decision on whether or not there should be a new trial due to the motions made by Officer Lunsford's defense team about juror misconduct and mishandling, which we talked about in last episode.
Yep.
That hearing was vacated with no new date set as of this recording. The state AG, Raul Torres, filed a motion in the meantime, and that motion is wild.
Sealed. Oh, it's
well, it's not, the full motion isn't out there, but you said you had looked into this case somewhat, and you had kind of dove into this. What were you seeing on it?
I don't know.
Oh man, we're pros here.
Yeah, professionals.
No, you said
I don't remember. I think before this, there was a hearing and basically it was closed. So I went on, listened to it, and they're like, we're going to have some testimony, but nobody's going to hear it. So I didn't hear any of this.
Yeah.
testimony.
So ultimately what happened is the defense
filed
put through motions. They had a hearing. Officer Lunsford was thankfully released from custody. He was released from jail. He could
as
go
the judge
back
makes
home.
a decision based on what is it. And no decision's been made yet. It sounds like the state made statements like the juror should be protected. They had every chance that the defense needed to make sure the voir dire was fine. They had the ability to answer questions. That was in their motion, their response to the defense's motion. But all of that testimony or argument was closed. So I couldn't hear any of that, or
Yeah, I mean,
didn't hear about it.
There's an article from from National Police Association about So basically, just to clarify and make sure we're on the same page here, there was a motion made by defense that Officer Lunsford needs a new trial because of all this crap that was going on with the jury. You had a juror who lied during voir dire. You had two alternate jurors who were put on the actual jury for unknown deliberations.
Yeah.
And the judge admitted a mistake there during their motions, and during that hearing, the judge admitted to a clerical error for that happening, and he said it shouldn't have happened. And then just as serious or more serious is this. Actually,
probably more serious. Yeah,
the foreperson who lied during voir dire, which is a direct and complete violation of criminal court proceedings and the way our justice system works.
Right.
So those motions were made. The judge said Officer Lunsford is immediately released from prison while he makes a decision on whether or not there should be a new trial. In the meantime, the prosecution, AG Raul Torres, filed a motion against the motions filed by defense.
Right, like a response to the motion.
Right, a response. So this in National Police Association had an article, New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres goes to state Supreme Court in Lunsford case and argues on behalf of perjury. That's the article name.
Okay.
Think about that. AG articles argues on behalf of perjury. From this article, a couple highlighted areas. In response to defense motions highlighting potential misconduct, AG Torres has submitted a filing to the New Mexico Supreme Court contending that scrutinizing a juror's political beliefs equates to harassment and violates First Amendment protections. He asserts that a defense's reliance on a juror's deceptive omissions during jury selection precludes them from challenging the juror's impartiality post-conviction.
That's
wild.
Brutal, dude.
This argument not only dismisses legitimate concerns of juror deception, but also sets a perilous precedent wherein dishonesty during voir dire is championed by the state.
Right.
Think about that.
So the AG is saying, go hide your political beliefs so that way you can get on a jury,
right,
and do what you want politically, based on your political views, your bias.
He's saying it's okay for you to not be honest
during
voir dire.
Yeah. It's unreal, dude.
This is a law enforcement, a prosecutor. He's a prosecutor.
He's the top prosecutor.
Yeah. Article goes on that says, by suggesting that potential jurors may withhold or misrepresent critical information without consequence, AG Torres effectively endorses a right to perjury, which is true.
Right.
A concept antithetical to the very essence of justice. Voir dire serves as the mechanism by which biases are identified and addressed, ensuring that both the prosecution and defense can exercise informed judgment in juror selection. Voir dire relies on honesty and full disclosure. To permit deception by omission in this process is to invite partiality into the jury box, thereby jeopardizing the fairness of trials and the legitimacy of their outcomes. So to flip the tables, if I was in New Mexico, what the AG is arguing is that as a police officer, I could go participate in voir dire, omit that I'm a police officer, omit that I would find it hard to believe anyone over a police officer, believe a criminal suspect, a defendant over a police officer. Admit that so that I could get on the jury. He's arguing for that.
Right.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Soros money. I'm just putting that out there. So that's the update on that case. There's no new court date set. There was supposed to be a hearing here on April 4th where the judge decided whether or not Officer Lunsford would get a new trial. That has now been pushed back, and that is ongoing. So we'll see what happens with
hope he gets a new trial.
I hope he gets a new trial too. I'd like to see everything just dismissed, but it ain't.
I mean, at this point, it's so muddy.
It's a mess.
It's an absolute mess. And what Officer Lunsford did is not worthy of going to trial for.
Right. Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
at least he's home. He's
home
with his
right
family.
now.
It's still brutal.
Family.
Like, I mean, how you supporting your family, how you're not working, you're
right.
Yeah, you're waiting for your next court date. I mean, that's brutal.
Yeah,
brutal. All for doing your job.
All for doing your job,
which you were cleared for.
which you were cleared for. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is this Miami police officer who didn't do her job.
Right.
And what's going to happen? Like, why aren't we charging people like that?
Yeah.
You know, why aren't criminal charges being brought against her for literally sitting in her car and watching a guy get beat?
Yeah. So she's sitting in the middle of an intersection, parked.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody comes up to her car, says something. They go back to their car and they get beat up by a bunch of bicyclists.
Yeah, it looks like there was some sort of
like road rage
incident
thing,
between a motorist and a bunch of
people
on bikes.
Yeah,
you know, probably riding and acting like a bunch of fools.
Maybe
whether he hit him. Yeah, we don't know. There was some reports that he hit one of the bicyclists and they were chasing him down and beating on his car. Who knows? But the bottom line is the guy stops. He's a marked car at an intersection. It looks like she's sitting maybe in like a median strip with her lights on. Goes up, talks to the police officer. You see guys on bicycles starting to surround him as he goes back to his car, and they just start. He was seriously injured.
Yeah,
I don't know what his injuries were.
They throw a bike on top of him, stomp on the bike.
They stomped him. And this officer literally sits in her car and does not intervene in the beating.
Did zero things.
Zero
things. I don't even know if she got on the radio.
Another officer shows up, tackles one of the bad guys.
Yeah, the old...
Then she lumbers out of the car and comes up and thankfully, Miami PD said, well, you're off the street. And I don't know if they suspended her without pay or if they just have her under suspension. It's under investigation right now. But that's the type of officer we should charge. One who literally will sit in a police car and watch someone be beat and do nothing about it.
Watch a citizen of the community for which they're supposed to protect and serve.
And who came to you for help, who came actually up to your window and asked for help. And then you just watch it happen. Watch
them beat up this guy.
It's crazy. So of course the whole 30 by 30 initiative came up because and I'm not going to get in. 30 by 30 is a Trojan horse for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I've
so
gotten into it.
It's 30% of law enforcement would be women
by 2030.
By 2030,
it ain't going to happen. But they're pushing to try to make it happen, and they have like a whole reasons why it would be better.
Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing. 30 by 30. They have a huge website up. You know, women use less force. They tend to
obviously.
Yeah.
This officer sat in the car. They did a great job. You did a great. Look at this. This is exactly what we want to happen in our communities. Just have a female police officer sit in a car and do nothing. I know lots of female officers. I don't know lots of female officers. I know female officers
that definitely would have done something.
Who would have jumped out of that car and probably waylaid these people. These guys on bikes. They would have just they would have just absolutely destroyed them.
For sure. Yeah. And it goes back to this idea that we need to be focused on hiring the best people for the job.
Yes.
The people that are most willing to put themselves in harm's way.
Are you willing to take a punch, and are you willing to punch someone?
Yeah.
That's the question. Are you willing? Can you take a punch? I had somebody come up to me the other day. They're like, hey, I'm thinking about, they're like super young, 17, 18 years old, 17. And they're like, I want to talk to you about becoming a police officer. And my first, when I get together with them, my first, can you take a punch? Can you take a punch and be willing to stand there, take it, and then act on that?
Right.
Like, that's going to be one of my first questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. Law enforcement generally, we've talked about this, is a masculine job.
Yeah.
And the women who excel in the job generally have more masculine tendencies with, how they can handle themselves, physicality, stuff like that.
And just size.
Right. Yeah. And if that's the case, like if you are a woman and you can pass what you need to pass to be a police officer, I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman being a police officer. But I think many women shouldn't be police officers. I think there's a far fewer women that can do the job than there are that are actually on the job. And this right here just kind of proves my point. Again, it's only one incident, but you had a female officer. How many male officers would have done the same thing? Sure, there's male officers out there that would have done the same thing.
Like the school shooting.
Yeah.
The officer did nothing.
Sure.
The male officer.
100%.
Yep.
But
we crushed him.
Yeah,
we'll crush anybody that's not doing their job.
Yeah, if you're not going
to be willing to take a punch or punch somebody, we're going to come at you.
Right.
We're going to come at you. That's what Anthony and Gary do.
Hire the best people. And
that's a simple thing. Like, we're not that smart. I mean, you definitely are not that smart. And I am probably less smart than you. But like, you have to be willing to do the job that you're asked to do.
Right.
That goes for anything, but we're talking about law enforcement.
We're talking about law enforcement. And what's so interesting, too, about this 30 by 30 initiative, and it's something I was thinking about, I was like, what are some other jobs out there that are more masculine? Like construction, bricklayers. Oil worker. Why is there not a 30 by 30 initiative for these jobs? Why is it only law enforcement?
Yeah.
Like, is there a reason behind it? And I mean, I think there's a spiritual reason behind it, but I also think that there's the main reason behind it is because we generally rebel against authority, and generally women are easier to push around than men. And so why not fill a profession with people who aren't as aggressive in nature, who aren't as quick to use force when it's justified, like in this case, and reimagine. It's all part of reimagining what police work is.
I do love that.
And that mission drift, like this idea of getting away from what is the call of a police officer. And the call, Romans 13, praise those who are doing the right thing, crush those who are doing the wrong thing. Yeah. Bring wrath down on those who are doing evil.
Crush evil, praise good.
Yeah, not that the police officer is the judge, juror, and executioner, but the police officer it plays a role in crushing evil.
Yeah, it's that front line.
It's front line.
It's the one who brings them to the judge.
Right. And so you have a part of our culture and our world who is trying to reimagine that. And really, it's a rebellion against what God has put in place. Yeah, 100%. It's 100% that. And so I'm not a fan of 30 by 30. It's a Trojan horse. If you read their stuff, if you go back and listen to anything I've ever said about 30 by 30, it's a Trojan horse to get in all kinds of DEI woke garbage into law enforcement with the whole idea of reimagining what law enforcement is, that we can do something different than what we've been doing, that we somehow have higher knowledge and a better understanding to progress law enforcement into something else. And we've been doing that experiment now for at least 5 years, since 2020, and it is not working. It's not working. Yeah. Okay. And
it's never going to work.
You go back to what we were talking about last week or last episode with El Salvador, crushing.
Yeah.
90%. The president has a 90% approval rating. Their crime rate is plummeting. Okay?
People are living in peace. People are living in prosperity. They're able to live free.
Right.
Versus what they had before that.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
No.
You just need to
align yourself and your policies and your way of life, way of policing to that which it was created to do.
Right. Yeah.
Why God put it into place.
Yeah. All right. Mic drop.
Yeah, crush evil. Praise good.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need
100%.
some sourdough, dude.
I don't need any sourdough. What I do need is everyone to subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Throw a comments.
Yeah, if you throw comments, it triggers the algorithm so more people see it. It does.
You don't know that. What do you know about algorithms?
Nothing, but I think that's what it does. The more you you comment, the more you like, the more you subscribe, the more it triggers the algorithm so more people see it.
I don't want anyone triggered except algorithms. Yeah. Trigger the algorithms.
Trigger the algorithms. Post, comment, like.